Good morning, everybody. This is Reino Aavikko from Mirasys. This morning we'll have a short presentation on Mirasys VMS version 8.3.6. We'll have some of new and interesting features in that one, and we'll have a look through the version. Expecting this presentation or webinar to look approximately 30 to 40 minutes, during which the video will be recorded. You'll have a link available from the webinar. Recommending you to send questions via the chat. I'll answer them in the end of the webinar if possible, if the time is enough. Otherwise, we'll send the answers via email. Also recommending you to check our YouTube channel. That one will include similar content on new features, as well as some tips and tricks video. Also, LinkedIn channel is something that you probably want to have a look through. So in this picture, you will have a view on our typical VMS user interface. Really nothing new in this one. We have had similar web interface for approximately 2 years now. That said, this is still a very useful and powerful user interface in order to manage your videos, for instance, in CCTV systems, etc. To go through the agenda of this webinar, firstly, introduction. We are going through that one. Go through the Mirasys company shortly. Highlights of the version 8 itself, version 8.3.6, what is new in that version. If we have time, we might have a look also in the version 8.3.5, couple of the most outstanding new features in that version. Only if time allows, we'll see in the end. And questions and answers. Just about introduction. Personally, I'm Reino Aavikko, working as product manager at Mirasys. We have had, I have been working at the company now approximately 1.5 years. Before that, I have worked in RFID business for the last 12 years approximately, also as product manager, project manager, etc. On the Mirasys company, Mirasys is founded in 1997, so that makes over 20 years in business. The company was founded in the beginning to support VMS for banking applications. Nowadays we have expanded to multiple other verticals, such as smart cities, military installations, casinos, government installations, etc., etc. We are fully focused on being a VMS software vendor. We are working through a partner network, so this allows us to support the whole world. We are working on over 40 countries, 50,000 end customers, over 1 million connected cameras. In the future, the plan is still to support VMS. That said, the focus will be towards the deep vision data, the data that is related to the video materials, for instance, the metadata in the videos or other business related data to the videos. For instance, some POS transactions, barcode transactions, etc., that are tightly related to the video data. Our newest version 8, we have, as said, we have been working on our VMS version 8 for some time now. The version is highly streamlined for the installation and setup, for connectivity and scalability. There can be tens of thousands of cameras in one system. We have a possibility for end-to-end data encryption from camera to server to the client. Nowadays, we have also possibility for GPU enhanced H264 and 265 algorithms for the video materials. Other things that we have in the version available are the so-called generic 360 fisheye dewarping. So we are supporting multiple cameras. Let's say we are not only bound to the camera manufacturer's own dewarping algorithms. We provide one ourselves. And one more thing relatively new is that we provide a facial and movement blurring functionality in our VMS that is available in all new versions of the version 8 VMS that we provide. Now to go to the new version 8.3.6, the beef, what we are talking in this webinar. What is new in this particular version? We have basically 2 or 3 large functionalities in this one and few smaller. Few of the large ones are two-factor authentication, meaning ability to add the identification possibilities of the users of the VMS, possibility to split different administration groups, user permissions for administrators, so it is possible, for instance, to split different administrators to administer users and different administrators to work with the hardware. Some of the new codecs based for H264, 265 that also support the inbuilt GPUs in the processor chips, which in some sense give, I put in quotation marks, free extra power for the VMS. Then some other things, color invert filters, both to color and black and white, white to black, alarm pop-up algorithms, some improved audit logs. So to go to the first larger new functionality, which is the two-factor authentication. The idea in this one is to enable two-factor authentication, meaning that the user needs to have additional authentication besides only the username and password. In our case, we have implemented this via a cell phone-based authentication application, which will improve the accountability and identification of users, for instance, preventing large problems in case that just talk through this one for you. So what you are seeing here currently is the user interface of our system manager, and specifically you see here the user groups user interface. This two-factor authentication is implemented on a user group level, and let's see. So how to take this into use is basically simply to tick the two-factor authentication into use for this user group. So what happens initially when a user who has this user group enabled and the user logs in to the system? So the username and password are requested in a normal fashion, nothing surprising here. But what will happen thereafter is that the system, this is a picture from our VMS, the system requests the user to synchronize his or her cell phone's authentication application, the secret key of that authentication application using this QR code. So the QR code is read with a camera, and what happens thereafter is that the secret key in that application is synchronized, and thereafter the application starts generating one-time keys periodically. We support multiple authentication applications, specifically Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, as well as Authy. Okay, and then what happens next is that the application, let's assume that I'll stop this for a second. So what happens next is that the application requests for the one-time key that is called authentication code. And as an example, I have a Authy installed in my personal cell phone, and I hope you are able to see this. Oh, so let us see if this is. like this. So what you are seeing there is the current one-time key, the 658835, as well as a countdown, time countdown. So what's happening is that the application is synchronized with the VMS with the time, and okay, now it changed. So what happens is that this secret key is sorry, one-time key is changing periodically, and during that time the user needs to type that into the VMS. The good thing in this is that there is no need to open firewalls or anything like that into the internet. So we can continue with the video. Basically what happens is that the user types in the one-time key here, and the system lets the user in. And well, that was the first time the user logs in. The user needs to be identified the first time, obviously, otherwise the secret key would be compromised immediately. But the next, well, I'll just scroll a little bit back. The next time the user logs in, the system asks for the username and password also. But now there is no synchronization of the secret key, but rather the system only asks for the one-time password. There is one more thing to be noted, that in case the user loses the cell phone or changes the cell phone or something like that, administrator will be able to reset the secret key from the user. So what you see here is the administrator who has logged into the system manager, and now has a possibility to reset the two-factor key from this one user. So to summarize this one, functionality to increase the security accountability of the users. This is done by using, in addition to the username and password, using the one-time keys from the cell phone. Idea in this is to improve the security against cases where a user's or user group's password is for some reason compromised. And to underline, this functionality is fully offline. This does not require internet connection between the cell phone and the VMS. The next larger functionality in this VMS 8.3.6 is having a possibility for splitting the user levels for different administrators. So until this, the administrator, even though we have had very detailed user levels for ordinary users, the administrators have had functionality which is either you are administrator and you can do anything, or you are not administrator. Well, with the 8.3.6, what's going on is that we can split the administrators to different user groups. For instance, some administrators to be able to administer the users, and other administrators the hardware. So I have also a video presentation for you here. So what's going on? Again, we see our system manager. And okay, again, the view is to show the user groups. And as an example, we generate a new user group. Let's call this one hardware administrators. And basically, this system manager enterprise role means, are you an administrator or not? And the wrench icon on the right hand side of that one allows defining the details of what this user group can actually do with that functionality. So what you can see here in the pop-up is the tabs, the system, VMS server, profiles, and users. And these tabs are one-to-one match with the tabs in the system manager in the top left side. So for instance, the users in the pop-up match the users in the administrator. So we generate, for instance, we generate this user group to be such that it can only administer hardware, and that's it. So we do not even let this group to administer the system level settings. The possibility to detail what can this group do with the VMS server settings. To be noted, it's even possible to define on recorder per recorder, server per server level on which servers this user group can or cannot access. But okay, this group can now edit all the servers, and same goes with the profiles. Also, the profile level profiles can be set on profile per profile basis. And as discussed, we'll remove from this group, we remove the users from here. Okay, there's generating one user to this group. And then when logging in with this user, let's see what the user can actually do. So now, as you remember, there was all the system level settings were unenabled from the user. So what the user can do is only to export the logs. That's it. However, the same user group can access all the hardware. Same goes for all the profiles. They are often needed for the hardware. But when you look at the users, this administrator group is completely unable to do anything in there, which was intentional in this case. And in many cases, you want to have certain administrators who can generate new users, but cannot access the hardware. So it goes without saying, the same possibility is there. So to summarize this, separating user levels for administrators, detailed user roles for that matter. For instance, in large systems, maybe there are, it could be also that there are several subcontractors or different sites, and you might want even to define which of the hardware administrators can access which of the servers. Well, that is also fully possible by using this new functionality. Next new functionality available for the 8.3.6 is a new codecs for H.264, 265. The largest thing here to have a look is that it will allow, well, I'm showing this bullet, the inbuilt GPU, which means we have supported earlier also GPUs, but only for external GPU cards. However, these codecs allow taking the inbuilt GPUs of these microchips into use, which means basically that in case you are using Intel processors, in some sense you get for free additional video decompression power to your system. Other new functionalities, color inverting filters, something that is implemented, the filter which inverts the colors of the video streams. In the upper right hand side, you have an example of picture where a color image is inverted, and the lower side is where a black to white is inverted. Especially this black to white, white to black can be useful to find objects that would be otherwise difficult to detect in certain cases. Next one, alarm pop-up monitor algorithm. This far we have had alarm monitor pop-up algorithm which allows to simplify it, if you have multiple alarm monitors, the only possibility has been that you get the oldest one first. With the new alarm pop-up monitor algorithm, it is possible to also select a functionality in which you have the newest alarm pop-up first. This depends totally on the use case you are using. Which is the proper way for you to go. But anyway, this is some of the customers have requested this one. So if you happen to be one of these people, I recommend you to have a look at the functionality and try it out. There are also a couple of other alarm monitor pop-up algorithms, namely to possibility to circulate the alarm pop-ups back and forth between different monitors. These are useful in some specific use cases. These are also built because of requests from certain customers. I recommend you having a look at these in case you happen to be one of the users of this. Another thing, I have a slide which is going out of the screen slightly. Well, what not? This is not in the 8.3.6, but something that is relatively new anyway. And since we have not presented this in a webinar, I wanted to show you this shortly. So what we have done is to implement a facial and movement blurring functionality into our VMS. It is implemented all for online playback and export. The permissions go for on profile level per user group. And this is something that is that allows increased privacy. For instance, in Europe, GDPR is highly is a big topic. And for instance, there are cases where the people in the video may request the video data to themselves, and then you might have a problem that, okay, you know where the person is, but there are also other people. So how to prevent sending unnecessary or video from outsiders, so to say. I'll show you a short video of this one as well. The picture is not very beautiful, but anyway, this is a picture of our spotter of our ordinary user interface. So then there is a lady walking in here. She's clearly visible, as you can see, and clearly unidentifiable. The face is unidentifiable. Then to note, this this video has been built in such a way that that the user logged in is an administrator, so the user can turn the blurring on and off as he pleases. But okay, and then the blurring is turned on, and to show the same video again. And okay, the face of the person is blurred now and not as well identifiable. Another functionality that is related here is movement blurring, which is possible to blur everything that is moving in the video. So what happens is that when the blurring is turned on, everything that is moving is turning into gray ooze. So this functionality is useful, for instance, is to ensure the privacy of also things that do not have faces. You could use this to blur a complete person, or as in this video, to blur cars, or maybe you want to blur content of supermarket conveyors as an example. And just an example, this functionality is implemented also for the export. So it's, as said, the exported material can be blurred both for the movement, and the facial blurring is available for that one. And the last but not least, the permissions have been implemented in high detail in this functionality, which means that for all the live playback and export, it is possible to enforce the blurring on, to turn the blurring off, or allow the user to turn the blurring on or off. Other thing, not newest of the new, but in the previous version, centrally configurable browser plugins. This is an update in our web browser. What this allows, besides in supporting the modern web technologies, is to implement one or multiple URLs as devices in a device tree. So what this means from the end user point of view is that when the end user clicks this button, the URL will be opened. And in case you happen to have an already existing system that you want to show the content of in our VMS, it is possible to add easily into our user interface. As an example, maybe you have a gate control that has a web interface, maybe you have a fire alarm, maybe you have a PSIM or something that has already a web user interface. So that is straightforward to add to our system user interface and show it tightly in there. And that's it as far as the new features go. I think it's time for questions. Let me see if there's at least one question that came. I mean, just to point out, I will go through a few of these, but we'll answer all of the questions via email. There's one which is, for instance, is facial blurring a licensed feature? The answer to the question is no. So if you have the VMS 8 license, you get the facial blurring by upgrading the software. It is included in all of the VMS 8 versions. There is there's a question: in future, can the two-factor authentication be used to reset administrator password if it was forgotten? Currently, the two-factor authentication allows resetting the secret key, but unfortunately, allowing that to reproduce the forgotten password, it's actually an interesting thought. We need to look into this and come back, but that is definitely something that we want to look into detail a little bit later. We might actually have something coming there. Let's see. There is also a question on coronavirus outbreak. A lot of camera manufacturers are bringing out fever-sensitive thermal cameras. Do we have specific VCA functions regarding thermal intelligence? In our case, we have some cases where we have combined a thermal camera directly with our system. We need to have a look in the VCA functionality in this end. What can we do or do not do there? That said, it is of course possible to link the metadata related to the fever or temperature to our system. One more question is here. There is it possible to upgrade the 8.x to 8.3.x without the trouble? The answer is yes. The upgrade from 8.x to 8.3.x is totally possible. It is the normal update procedure, namely updating the software. You need to do the license refresh in the license generator to get all the new functionalities into use. I mean, that does not need a license upgrade. That is not something that you need to pay for license upgrade from 8.x to 8.3.x, but it is something that is that the license content needs to be upgraded, but that's an ordinary license upgrade procedure. I think there are some more questions there, but we are running out of the time. We'll have a look at these questions and come back on these via the email. So how to go about this next? One thing that you want to do is to have a look at our YouTube channel. The channel has also presentations of our new features that we have. Also, it has some tips and tricks videos. Some, well, what it says, tips and tricks how to use our VMS. You can download our 836 for as a test version to try it out, or if you already have an 8.x version, you can upgrade your system. And a demo license you can request from salesmirasys.com, and in case you want to go further with our system, that is also way to go. That is it. So I thank you for your time. I hope this was useful for you, and we keep on making the VMS better. Hope we'll meet soon again, and please everybody stay healthy on these times.